Well, first I want to do a couple little common sense things on silver manipulation, which has been always a hot topic. You know, J.P. Morgan's evil guys, the governments are manipulating down the price of silver. It should be several $100s an ounce in real dollars. I don't believe that in all, but probably going to go up there maybe in inflationary dollars at one point in time. But just look at the facts of what goes on in all the commodity markets since, I don't know, commodity markets were started. There's been manipulation up and down. As a matter of fact, I'm sure the smartest players get on the upside of silver, including the banksters, J.P. Morgan, and everything else when the price is driving up. They'd be fools not to. Now, I know the people are out there that are permanent bulls because they're holding physical silver and they just want to see it go up. It's not smart a lot of times unless you could time the market perfectly to trade physical silver between going to a bullion dealer and trade it in at one price, spot less $1, and then buy it back for spot plus $2. You got to watch very carefully what you're doing. And if you knew that kind of information, you would just be in the markets playing leverage. But obviously you don't know that information because only a few win that and most lose it. So a lot of people are playing the smart or the safe route in their mind, physical silver. The other thing is, we had that price range go up to about 48. That was leverage that was bringing it up. It wasn't breaking the banksters. That was leverage bringing it up too. And somebody like Max Kaiser, I'll mention a name. He should know better. It's like the banksters are going to break. You're going to break J.P. Morgan. What is that all that about? Really? What is all that about? Yeah, I know. You see, go study about their short position. They inherited it from Bear Stearns and all this kind of garbage. But, people are being played like suckers, and it's like, I'm not going to show too many graphs or anything like that anymore because I think, one of the questions that people put out there about graphs is, why show so many graphs and so many analyses if the price of silver is manipulated? Well, I actually know the answer for that. The answer is it's a sales pitch. Graphs, bar charts, pie charts. The more things you could show out there with numbers and statistics, the more you can convince people of your argument and that you know what you're talking about. But, if people knew exactly what they're talking about, they sure wouldn't be on YouTube talking about it. They'd just be playing your own money down, and they'd be winning bets left and right. If they know what's going on in the markets, you're going to win. Now, one angle I look at things from is, in other words, it's not strictly by charts. I like the charts if you're looking at Fibonacci because I think Fibonacci is off the laws of nature. And in the long term, it seems to always play out. You can't refute the laws of nature. No matter how much things are being rigged, there's always an opposite force going on. And it seems to come out. These Fibonacci pullback points and ascension points seem to work out. I can't argue with the validity of that. But a lot of other times I can argue with the validity of many other analyses. If you really know what's going on, just place your money and shut up and just make your money. You don't need to be playing games with charts, especially if you're just holding physical silver forever. Now, the other thing is with, the SOV not holding all the physical silver they say, that may or may not be. That damn thing's audited. I know audits could be a bunch of BS sometimes too, but, it is audited. It is audited. And you got fairly smart people that are in the SOV, so it's almost like, I guarantee you there's more silver on hand to meet the demand of investors than there is cash in a bank if somebody just had cash in the bank. So, I just can't see the SOV going broke all of a sudden real fast because they don't have the physical silver on hand. I don't know about that deal. That's been one of the theories that's been thrown out there left and right. I just don't see it happening that easily. I think there is some kind of double counting going on. And I think things like that happen quite often throughout the financial world in various ways, just from me understanding that. But I don't know about the SLV holding hardly any silver. It holds only, 1% of its silver or stuff like that it says it holds. there's a lot of exaggerations out there. Maybe it's they hold 1/3. Who knows? Just throwing a number out there. But hell, if they hold 1/3 of the silver they're supposed to be holding, everything else is a lie. Just making this up off the top of my head. They're probably in a lot better shape than a lot of other things out there, and a lot of other financial institutions, in a lot of other ways, where things are interlinked. So I don't see it falling apart right away. I'm just telling you flat out. Use some common sense on this stuff. A lot of these people playing all this fear is just getting people to buy physical silver left and right. And I don't know who the hell they're working for. Unless they really believe this BS they're throwing lines out there, but I can't see it. I can't see it. Now, I want to go on to another angle. I know a lot of people are worried about global war starting with the Middle East over oil, and also how China is going to play out with that. Like, Russia's got tons of oil, so they're not going to be cut off from oil supplies or anything like that, and they got tons of natural gas. Tons. I mean, whatever. They're the number one oil producer. They may not be the number one oil reserves. I think Canada is. Depends. Even Venezuela could be close up there. Depends on what you count. But as far as a producer, Russia and Saudi are pretty close to each other. Russia also has the world's largest natural gas reserves, spread out over a long, big-ass country, whereas Iran has the number 2 natural gas reserves. But I just want to flip on over to this thing about oil a little bit, because something interesting happened with China. They bought a big oil company in Canada. Nexon is the biggest foreign acquisition ever by a Chinese company. The deal was for $15.1 billion by CNO Conoco China. I don't know what it stands for, but it's they tried to buy out something in California about 5 years ago, which is the third largest oil company in China. So China's using its reserves and all the cash they got from trading for all these years with the West to buy up hard assets and companies that produce things they need. Now, this was done by a Chinese company, but I'm sure it was in coordination with the Chinese government. Just as CNOOC missed buying California-based Unocal in 2005 because of fierce opposition from Congress. They were stating they didn't want the Chinese to move into an American company and buy it out. So they played real patient, real quiet, real shrewd, and they got Nexon in California. Now, here's this is right off their site, their core business. And I don't know if you can see this, but the orange rectangle is natural gas shale. So that's in Canada. There's green. It's the only place to green. That's the actual shale oil. So they're big into that. Traditional oil is the blue. They're down in. See, one reason the Canadian government didn't focus in on as much as this, because this Nexon is all over the world. They're a big company, but they're all over the world. They're not just totally concentrated in Canada, but they do have the Canadian tar sands. They do have that. They're in that, and they're also in the natural gas shale and also conventional oil, and they're quite a large company. They're down in the U.S. Gulf, Mexico, down in it looks like Colombia, and UK North Sea. Poland is for natural gas again, Yemen, and off the coast of West Africa. So this is a large producing company. So this is the way China's probably going to play the cards with oil. They need oil. They're going to buy up foreign companies. And so far they succeeded. Another thing that's coming up, and this bodes very bad for the bonds, the U.S. bonds. Jim O'Neill, chairman of Goldman Sachs Asset Management, and he's basically stating the same damn thing as George Soros. Create euro bonds or else, or just end the euro right now. And see, that's been always my contention, that they're forcing a crisis situation. They're forcing everybody tied together with this euro thing. It's not going to fall apart like it may be coming close. Maybe some people might exit the euro, but maybe that'll just be a temporary thing. Very temporary thing. In other words, the impetus is, and you can read this right off the Council on Foreign Relations articles and stuff, CFR.org, that the euro is something that's desired not just by certain European elite leaders, but it's also desired by the New World Order globalist types in the United States. It's part of the stepping stone to, go into the next global currency. So he's stating Eurobonds. Now I'm saying this, once you have these Eurobonds, they're going to be a major competition to U.S. bonds, major competition. And this is something they don't want to do because Germany doesn't want to do it, obviously, because it's going to cost them that much more for their for debt, because they're going to be mixed in with all the other nations that have to pay high yields. So it's going to be an averaging. So Germany's going to get screwed on this. Other countries that are stronger are going to get screwed on this. But it's probably going to be the outcome. And I always said this is going to be the outcome. This is what George Soros is calling for, too. I'm just stating that this is probably going to be the outcome. Long range, U.S. bonds are probably going to look bad. Actually, people need to be, if you could be short. I'm not going to play short on the U.S. bonds because I don't know when it's going to blow up or not. But some people are. And when it does, I'm assuming metal's going to go up quite a bit too. But this does spell a further death knell for the U.S. bonds. I mean, it's in other words where they get beaten down a lot more. Because the Euro bond, all-encompassing Euro-wide bond, is going to be a hell of a lot more attractive. Anybody country like China is going to buy bonds. It's going to buy it from Europe, where they trade the most with. So, even though they're down right now, the European production could start going back up, and what'll happen is, you'll see the trade going between China and Europe, and they'll be buying their bonds. So that looks bad for the United States. Now, like I stated, China's very shrewd. They're buying up oil companies. They've been trying to buy that Conoco in California like 5 years ago, but the U.S. government, Congress, and lawmakers, they all stopped it in our national interest. That Canadian company is a little more diversified, but they played very, very smart. They waited till one of the CEOs resigned and they got in there. So I want to point out that kind of story because in business, these kind of things happen in every field there is, not just silver. It's like this all over the place, Yeah, I guess you can call them conspiracies. I don't know what the hell you can call it, but sometimes people are into conspiracies too much. And, they purport on their channels and stuff about silver's just manipulated and the banksters are driving the price down. That's not exactly true. They're giving a very false picture. I just got to state that. It's very, very false picture because it's kind of the nature of business and commodities, and it's been that way since day one. Now, if they could tell you which way the direction of the price is going to move and they could do it accurately, I don't know why they would on YouTube. They could be making so much money, it's beyond belief. You think about it, if you start out with whatever you have, it doesn't matter. You just do the multiplication, and no matter what you even had, if you started out with like $10, if you know which way the direction of commodities go, you're going to be the richest person on the earth inside of less than a year. There's no doubt about that. Just figure it out mathematically, and that's without even using options. So, beware the advice you get, and I'll also say is watch out for these conspiracy talk left and right. It's true, but it's not like true to what the hell they're saying it is, because they got an act. I don't know what their game is, but I don't like getting all those kind of rumors. The next time silver goes up, I'm thinking it's going about 60, 70, maybe over 70. I don't know, and it's going to crash again. That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong about that, but it's decent likelihood. Let me put it that way. But when I say it gets up to like $55 an ounce, it broke through, and it looks like it's going up higher. You're going to hear people saying it's going to be up to $150, $200 by no time. You're going to see $500 an ounce silver predictions out there. That is so much ridiculous garbage going on. It's not going to happen. And you know who they're working for? They're probably, even though they're silver bloggers, they're probably, if anything, if they're not stupid, they're probably working for the conspiracy itself. The J.P. Morgan guys. Because J.P. Morgan will probably be on the long side. They're going to want all the little freaking people to jump on long when it gets over 50. Keep them in there. Keep the fires on hot. And I don't know what it's going to go up to. I'm throwing a number out there, 60 to 75. And it's going to crash again. And they got to get the buyers in nice and at real high prices. So do whatever the hell you want. But I got to say this. Majority of people always get led off the cliff the wrong way. That's usually what happens, and only a few win this game. It's not a net sum game where it's going to save the middle class. I can guarantee you that. So, just use a little common sense. That's all I got to say when you're dealing with this silver stuff. And see people start spouting conspiracy left and right. A little too much. Avoid them like the plague because they're full of shit. That's all I got to say.